I knew the storm was brewing the moment Alex strutted into the boardroom that final week. His cheap suit straining at the seams like it was trying to escape his overinflated ego. Reeking of that knockoff cologne he swore made him smell like a Wall Street titan. The air in our downtown Manhattan office was thick with the hum of printers spitting out merger docs, keyboards clacking through last-minute audits, and the faint buzz of anxiety from every cubicle. This was it, the climax of 18 grueling months negotiating the sale of Apex Innovations to Vanguard Group, a powerhouse conglomerate with deep ties to federal contracts. Everyone was on edge, scrambling to tie up loose ends, org charts redrawn, data migrations tested, cloud backups verified. But there was Marcus, holed up in his corner office with the glass walls that let you see straight through to his unflinching calm, methodically reviewing every line of code, every protocol he'd authored over the past decade. I'd been his right hand in operations for 7 years, long enough to recognize that his silence wasn't weakness, it was a coiled spring, loaded with the weight of unspoken betrayals. He didn't pace, didn't snap at interns. He just cross-checked licenses, archived repositories, and signed off on continuity plans with the precision of a surgeon closing an incision he knew would scar deep. The tension simmered low at first, like the distant rumble of thunder over the Hudson. Alex, fresh off his promotion to VP of Growth, courtesy of being the CEO's golden boy nephew who'd once binge-watched Shark Tank and called it an MBA, paraded around like he was the deal's messiah. He'd bark half-baked ideas into his AirPods during fake calls, slap high-fives on stressed-out analysts, and email vision statements riddled with buzzwords like disruptive synergy that meant absolutely nothing. I watched it all from my desk, pretending to finalize vendor transitions. But my gut twisted every time he dismissed Marcus in passing. Old-school Mark here's got the history books covered, he'd quip, loud enough for the open-plan floor to hear, as if Marcus's years of building our infrastructure from scratch were just quaint relics. Marcus never bit back. He'd just nod, that faint shadow of a smile playing on his lips, like he was filing away each slight for a rainy day he alone knew was coming. As the closing loomed, the drama escalated in whispers and sidelong glances. In a strategy huddle with Vanguard's execs, Alex unveiled his revolutionary org chart on a flashy slide deck, complete with emojis and neon arrows. There, buried in a footnote, was Marcus's team labeled Phase Out, Legacy Ops, Q4 Sunset. No warning, no consultation, just a digital guillotine swing. The room went still. The kind of quiet where you can hear someone's coffee cup tremble. Vanguard's CTO, a no-nonsense vet named Harlan, flicked a glance at Marcus, eyebrows raised in silent question. You gonna let this slide? Marcus didn't explode. He didn't argue. He just jotted a note on his yellow legal pad, his pen scratching softly against the paper, and leaned back with that impenetrable calm. It was infuriating to watch. How could he swallow this? But deep down, I sensed the hurt flickering behind his eyes, the accumulated weight of being overlooked, undermined, erased by someone who hadn't earned a single scar in the trenches. Alex's arrogance ballooned from there, feeding on the office's forced applause. He revamped the break room with kombucha taps and motivational posters quoting Elon Musk, started calling himself Alex the Accelerator in Slack channels, and reassigned our sharpest intern, a kid named Tyler who'd been mentored by Marcus for months, to narrative innovation with a snide email, can't let fresh talent rust on outdated frameworks. Tyler confided in me later, voice cracking over lunch in the cafeteria, how it felt like a gut punch. Marcus had been the one to teach him real code, real resilience, not this performative crap. Marcus overheard the reassignment in the hall, his face unchanging, but I caught the subtle clench of his jaw, the way his fingers tightened around his coffee mug. He patted Tyler on the shoulder later, murmuring, "Foundations hold, even when the paint peels." It was classic Marcus, poetic deflection masking the raw ache of betrayal from within his own ranks. The slights piled up like unpaid debts, each one chipping away at Marcus's quiet dignity. Alex would interrupt him mid-sentence in cross-team calls, rephrasing his expertise into vapid jargon. What Mark's trying to say is we're pivoting to agile scalability. No, Alex. What Marcus meant was the system won't implode if you stop treating it like your personal playground. Then came the hallway ambushes, where Alex would clarify expectations in front of wide-eyed juniors, his voice booming with false authority. Once, he emailed the team a viral meme about boomer tech habits, CCing Marcus with a winky emoji. The office laughed nervously, but I saw Marcus's eyes narrow, just for a second, before he archived it without reply. It wasn't rage boiling over. It was a slow erosion of trust. The kind that hollows you out from the inside, turning loyalty into a weapon waiting to be wielded. HR played neutral, but even they squirmed. One evening, as the city lights twinkled outside, Sarah from HR cornered Marcus by the elevators. "Heads up, Alex is floating ideas about accelerated exits to streamline, framing them as voluntary." Marcus sipped his herbal tea. "Unflappable. Voluntary implies choice," he replied softly, his voice laced with the quiet pain of someone who'd given everything to this place. Sarah's eyes softened with pity, but Marcus just stepped into the elevator, the doors closing on what felt like the end of an era. I started tallying the insults in my mind, each one a brick in the wall of his unspoken resentment, the ignored emails, the sidelined contributions, the casual dismissals that screamed, "You're obsolete." But Marcus didn't retreat into bitterness. He observed, like a chess master studying a fool's gambit, his silence a shield and a sword forged from years of overlooked genius. The divide sharpened like a blade. On one end of the floor, Marcus huddled with Vanguard's diligence squad in a dim conference room, fielding barrages of questions on failover redundancies, IP attributions, and compliance pitfalls. His answers came steady. Unadorned, no flair. Just unassailable truth. Vanguard's lead engineer nodded appreciatively, slipping him a knowing glance when Alex's botched diagram flashed on screen, a mess of loops and dead ends. "This viable?" she asked dryly. Marcus paused, then deadpanned. "If viable means courting disaster." A shared smirk passed between them. Conspiratorial. And I spotted the red-tabbed folder she tucked away unmarked, but heavy with implication. Meanwhile, Alex hosted vision mixers in the lounge, blasting EDM and toasting with energy drinks, preaching radical velocity to a crowd of forced smiles. The contrast gnawed at me, Marcus, the unsung architect, bearing the emotional scars of invisibility, while Alex danced on the grave he was digging for others. That night, I glimpsed Marcus in the server room, fingers flying over a console tied to an air-gapped drive. He looked up, his eyes holding a glint of weary resolve. "Ever watch someone bet the house without knowing the deck stacked?" he asked, voice low. I nodded, heart pounding. He smiled faintly. "Good. Some hands play themselves." The next day, whispers spread. A certified envelope had landed at Vanguard's legal desk, invoking an ancient clause from Apex's founding docs. Clause 7.2, IP stewardship rights. Buried deep. It granted Marcus veto power over any sale touching his core architecture, which was damn near everything. He'd built it 14 years ago, sleeping on office couches through crashes and audits, pouring his soul into code that kept us afloat. The clause wasn't vengeance, it was survival, born from the fear of being discarded like yesterday's tech. The boardroom chilled to Arctic levels that closing day. We filed in under fluorescent glare, the scent of fresh coffee masking the undercurrent of dread. Alex claimed prime real estate beside the CEO, arms sprawled like he owned the skyline view. Marcus sat at the periphery, folio in hand, his posture a fortress against the brewing storm. Alex launched into his pitch, mangling Sun Tzu quotes and flashing slides of upward arrows. Harlan from Vanguard cleared his throat mid-ramble. "Clarify your backbone continuity?" Alex fumbled. But Marcus interjected smoothly, detailing nodes and redundancies with surgical calm. Alex tried to laugh it off. "Mark's our walking archive, thinks AI's a fad. Boomers. Am I right?" The room froze, the insult hanging like smoke. Marcus didn't wince. He slid a matte black card across the table to Harlan. Harlan read it, barked a laugh that shattered the facade. "You're kidding," Alex stammered, confusion twisting into panic. The revelation hit like a seismic shift. Harlan passed the card. Vanguard's GC flipped open her binder to clause 7.2. Reading aloud, residual authority over 82% of Apex's ops. Invoked 2 days prior. Alex paled, protesting feebly. "That's ancient, irrelevant." The GC's voice sliced through. "It's binding. And your oversight failure borders on fraud." Eyes darted to Marcus, who sat unmoved, the years of quiet humiliation fueling this precise strike. Alex, cornered, swung wildly. "Mark, take 2 weeks, then you're out. I'm calling the shots." The silence was visceral, a collective intake of breath. Harlan stood, eyes on Marcus. "Join us for a sidebar?" They exited, leaving Alex deflated, the room pulsing with unspoken judgment. When they returned, the verdict dropped like a gavel. Harlan announced, "Transition oversight shifts. Marcus advises directly under our CIO, no changes without his sign-off." Alex slumped, the arrogance crumbling into hollow defeat. HR babbled apologies, offering bonuses. But Marcus cut through, too late. "I've accepted Vanguard's offer." The words landed with finality, a quiet explosion born from betrayal's depths. Harlan nodded respectfully. "Your timing's impeccable." Marcus replied evenly, "Timing's all we have." The meeting dissolved. Alex vanished into irrelevance, his desk cleared by week's end. 3 weeks on, the office hummed with a new rhythm. Apex's signs lingered, but Vanguard's imprint dominated. Marcus's role wasn't just survival, it was ascension, his decisions echoing through halls once deaf to his voice. An intern cornered him one afternoon. "How'd you turn the tables?" Marcus shrugged, eyes distant with the cost of his silence. "I didn't turn them. I waited for the weight of their mistakes to flip the board." He walked away, leaving the echo of a man who'd paid dearly in isolation for this reckoning, not with fireworks, but with the cold fire of endured pain.